Right.
Right. Okay, guys, we're live here. It's going to be a really good talk here. Oh, a bit of background noise there. What's going on? Did you hear that?
No, it's just me. I have my Facebook page on here.
I'm sorry, I was wondering there. Start again. Okay, guys, we're ready to rock and roll here. This is Success Mindset Life. We're doing a live stream podcast. Call it what you like. It's an interview. I have a podcast that I'm getting going here, so I'm going to be using this on that as well, Success Mindset Podcast. So welcome to everyone that's tuning in live. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you're watching the replay, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. So we've got David McCollum here. He's known now as the Healthy Gut Guru. He has got a speciality in gut health. I'm going to read you his bio here in a second. So we're going to have a really good chat here, an interview on his expertise and how we can take steps to protect or boost and protect our immune system from the likes of this coronavirus at the minute, COVID-19, and just really look after our nutrition and gut health as much as possible to boost our immune system. So as you know, guys, from the Success Mindset Life and what I do, the mindset is so key. I talk about that obviously all the time because it's my expertise, and that is a fundamental thing in all areas of your life. But as we all know, we have to fuel ourselves through our mouth, through obviously eating, and looking after that and eating the best we can, and also gut health, etc. that David's going to talk about is so important. So starting off here, we'll just give you a wee bit about David. David's a healthy gut guru. As I said, that's his AKA, if you like, now at the minute. David graduated from University of Ulster, honours degree in physiotherapy, but he went back to college to study neuropathic medicine and has spent the last 20 years specialising in immune, gut and cardiovascular health. He is an accomplished bodybuilder. He won Mr. Northern Ireland twice and Mr. Northern Ireland once, and in over 40s. Awesome stuff. Well done to David. The coronavirus has prompted David to preach his message more on his expertise, which is mainly in gut, cardiovascular and immune health. So, and it's all about prevention, as we're going to talk about here tonight, and prevention over intervention. We're really going to specify the importance of that, guys. And that's why we talk about mindset, and we're doing these podcasts here on nutrition to focus on diet-rich, nutrient-dense, unprocessed foods, especially fruits and veg, that nurture and nourish the gut and the body. David has an extensive knowledge, so let's get him rocking and rolling here on his expertise. So David, over to you. We'll be talking about, the coronavirus, what is it, and the ways that we can counteract it. So do you want to start off, David?
Hey, Mark. Thanks very much for inviting me on to Mindset Expert. It's really important that we don't get carried away with fear around what's going on at the moment. The government has not been particularly good at encouraging people or educating people on what they can do to stay healthy. And unfortunately, it's unfortunate to see anybody die as a consequence of infection or a consequence of the coronavirus. But 99% of those, the statistics seem to bear this out, that 99% of those who will die from coronavirus are usually going to be older, over 70 or so, and will have 1, 2, or 3 comorbidities. That means they may have other presenting conditions like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, all of these things, which is already COPD, like they would have with chronic smoking problems. So they already have a weaker body with a weaker immune system. So corona is actually Spanish for crown. So that's what the virus looks like. It's got little sticky bits out, which are really proteins that bind onto the cells in the body in order to replicate themselves. Back in the 1980s, Sir Peter Medawar coined the term, viruses are a little bit of bad news wrapped up in a protein. And in fact, virus is the Latin word for poisonous fluid. So this is where we get this idea about. There's 3 things that you can say about a virus. One is they are extremely small. They can't be visualized under anything except an electron microscope. They're parasitic by nature. In order for them to replicate, they have to find a host cell, they have to enter the host cell, and then they basically take over the internal machinery of the cell, including the nucleus where genetic material is, the Golgi apparatus, which makes proteins, and the mitochondria, which makes energy, because they can't make their own proteins, they can't make their own energy. So they basically parasitize the cell and use what's already there. Now, a replication cycle for viruses generally lasts sort of anywhere between 8 to 10 hours. One virus goes in, and maybe 10,000 virions come out. And usually what happens is that they can either be exuded through a process called exostosis, where they're like squirted out, or they can basically just cause the cells to rupture. And then that 10,000 goes and invades another 10,000. And this is probably one of the reasons we see with the coronavirus why there may be so much potential problems, because if the host cells that they tend to bind to are located in the lungs, and there's massive cell destruction, there's obviously going to be masses of inflammation and masses of fluid. And some people already talk about, feeling like they're drowning in fluid. Well, this would be the reason for that. The third thing about viruses are they are genetically lean. So a typical virus probably has only about 400 to 800 genes. A human cell usually has about 18,000. So there's a big discrepancy between the two. And because they're so small and genetically lean, that's one of the reasons that they can spread so easily, and also that they can convert, so at the moment we've got COVID-19, next year it'll be COVID-20 and COVID-21. It's a bit like Windows operating system. So these things can constantly change and adapt according to the environment they're exposed to. Which is one of the problems. One of the problems they've had historically with flu vaccine is that they're always trying to find the strain of flu that's going to cause the next flu problem or flu pandemic or epidemic. This is indeed what might happen with the coronavirus. It may be COVID-19 now, but by the time they get around to making a vaccine to that particular strain, it may have mutated to another strain, which means that the vaccines they make probably will not be that effective. And you also have to remember, whenever you use vaccines, whether it's live or attenuated or dead viruses, it's going to still put a significant strain on your own immune system in order to create antibodies. I think probably one of the issues we have at the moment, testing has been quite poor, and it's quite flawed because it has basically been based around the body's response to a virus, which is it makes an antibody. But you could have thousands of people out there carrying coronavirus and have been, and this could have been around for months because there was an awful lot of people who had similar symptoms prior to Christmas. But a lot of people could be running around with antibodies to the virus, but not have an infection, so to speak. And just because you've got the antibodies does not necessarily mean that you're going to go and have a full-blown problem. What we need to do is, when we're testing, is we need to actually test the viral load. The viral load is the number of active virions or viruses that are already pre-existing. Because the more virus in the body, the more potential that you're going to end up really sick. And our frontline staff, this is where the PPE equipment is really important, because with the frontline staff are doctors and nurses, and those people working in hospitals where they're exposed to a greater density of viruses, their viral potential for viral load is really high. And those are the people who should be tested first, not the people out in the community. We need to test frontline workers and test them for viral load, not test them just for antibodies, because it's going to give it a lot of false positives.
Aye, so they're getting exposed to a high level, and obviously their immune system's getting more. That's why they need the protective gear on them, more so obviously. But in terms of coronavirus, you were talking about virus. Is that coronavirus is very similar to what you were saying? You were given or were you talking about
there are literally thousands of viruses that have been about for hundreds and hundreds of years. Within the coronavirus, it would be an upper respiratory tract virus, similar to the rhinovirus, which is a cold virus, and the influenza virus, which is also an upper respiratory tract virus. So they're from a similar family, so to speak. And one of the things is, historically, it has been noted that most of these types of viruses have originated from China. In animals such as dogs and cats, birds, that's where the avian flu came from, the swine flu, all of these things, historically, a lot of them did originate in China. And you'll actually see, one of the policies we have at the moment, apart from, social distancing, okay, and limiting contact between individuals, if you actually look at the likes of the Japanese and Chinese, they don't really hug or shake hands. They bow at a distance. Because historically, they knew that if they came into close contact, they've learned over thousands of years that there's a greater chance they can spread these sort of viruses.
But yeah, but we're social creatures as humans, and obviously it's a big part of life. So, like, obviously we're on here to give a general idea to people what a virus is, what the coronavirus is, and really to work on strengthening our immune system as much as we possibly can, which is why your experience in the gut health is so important, because gut has a massive impact on the immune system as well. So, like, we're going to obviously go on to that because there is loads of viruses, there is loads of different strains and things can mutate, etc. But the stronger our immune system is, I talk to my clients, and obviously the people that follow me on this page about the mind and the power the mind has in every area of your life, health, all your results, etc. But also, obviously, the nutrition is a major part to play in that as well. So we're going to talk about that, how we can strengthen our immune system from your knowledge on nutrition and gut health, because like there is going to be strains, there is going to be other things, but the stronger we are in the immune system in body, obviously then we're going to be able to live a normal life. So that's really where it's at, isn't it? Your expertise is helping with that in terms of immune system.
Yeah, well, it's like one of the things a lot of people don't really understand is 70% of your immune system resides in your gut. There is a layer of cells called the endothelium, which lines the inner tube. So basically lines the arteries. There's an endothelial layer that runs from your bottom, from your anus right up into your ears, into your nose, into your mouth, and down into your lungs. And associated with that endothelial tissue, which is only one layer of cells thick, and it's usually covered in a layer of mucus called mucin, which is a protective layer. Is that associated with this endothelium are bunches of immune cells called lymph cells. So we call it in the gut, we call it the gut-associated lymphoid tissue. In the nose, we call it the nose-associated lymphoid tissue. In the lungs, we call it the bronchial-associated lymphoid tissue. Now, this immune tissue and this layer of cells and this layer of mucus is basically your barrier between you getting the virus entering your body or not entering your body. And if it does get in there, whether the immune system in the gut and the malt and the malt, whether it can actually handle, recognize it as a virus and that it can mount an immune response to it. So associated with this tissue, we have approximately 100 trillion cells that are 100 trillion organisms that live in our gut. And we call it the human microbiome. And also we have associated with this microbiome, we also have fungal organisms called the Candida and other yeasts, and we call that the mycobiome. Now, when the organisms are in balance, they help with things like your digestion, they help produce certain vitamins, they help you break down and digest your food, they also help support your immune system. But there is the old saying, you are what you eat. And Hippocrates said, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And that's where we have lost our path from thousands of years ago, because now our food, for many of us, is so heavily processed. It's full of sugar, it's full of synthetic fats, it's full of preservatives, it's full of artificial sweeteners. And all of these things have a negative effect on your human microbiome, which can then go on to cause all sorts of health problems, particularly weakening the immune system. On top of that, you have a gland, two glands that sit on top of the kidneys, and we call them the adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are your stress glands, and they produce your stress hormones. So when you're really stressed and you produce high levels of stress hormones, it's meant to protect you and keep your immune system strong. But if you produce too much cortisol, or if your adrenals get exhausted from prolonged stress, whether it's physical, mental, emotional stress, then you end up producing too little cortisol. That has a negative impact on your immune system, and particularly on a protective antibody that lines the gut called the secretory IgA. So making sure that your bacteria in your gut are healthy, and the way you keep them healthy is you feed your body a diet that is rich in fruits and vegetables. Meats that are all unprocessed foods are going to nurture and nourish your gut bacteria and your gut cells and your body in general. If you eat a diet that's rich in processed food, high in sugar, artificial fats, you will actually feed the more harmful bugs in the gut. They can produce all sorts of toxins that can have a very deleterious effect on your immune system.
Yeah, here, I just want to say something before we go on. Actually, to everyone, if you share this, guys, myself and David, it's actually David's report. He done a 30-page report on the best things to take to boost your immune system supplement-wise that are immune boosting and antiviral. So we're going to give that to you free. Anyone that shares this is going to get it by email. I'll obviously reach out to you, or you can message me your email if you've shared this. So definitely do that, guys, because more and more people need to obviously have this knowledge. We're trying to get it out to as many people as possible to help people at the minute. This is free, what we're doing here, you know, on this live stream. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. The other thing is, if you have any questions, put them in the question box as I go along here. Breeze has already put a question in. David asked 2 questions, so that's well done, Breeze. You're ahead of the game there, so well done. So any questions you have, put them in the question box. We'll go through them when we come to that part. So David has mentioned we're obviously going to give some ideas of supplements when we're on here, as well as this more extensive report for those guys who share it. So you've talked about gut health. Is there anything else you want to say on the looking after your gut before we go on to like prevention rather than intervention and things?
Yeah, well, as I said, the same things that are going to nourish and nurture your gut cells and your gut bacteria are the same things that are going to optimize the health of your cells and your immune system. Back in, since the 1920s and 30s, I think it was Fleming who discovered penicillin. So we've been chasing, the germ we've been chasing really until the late 60s was bacteria. And we created all these antibiotics, and they were wonderful. And then we started feeding them to our animals, which is brilliant. And then, of course, we overused them, and we overused them in our animals. And now we have ended up with significant levels of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. But we really didn't do any work on viruses until probably the late 60s. And one of the American pharmaceutical companies called Upjohn, they did some research on a particular botanical, which is olive leaf extract, and the active component is called oleuropein. And they actually found that the activity of oleuropein on viruses was much more significant than anything that they could manufacture. And in fact, in terms of antiviral drugs, the pharmaceutical industry struggle and have struggled to come up with anything that can effectively deal with viruses. And in fact, they struggle against, because these viruses can mutate so quickly. And if you're trying to develop a vaccine to vaccinate against a virus that can mutate like that, they really don't know what to do. They're constantly catch up. But nature is wonderful, because nature has a whole range of different types of essential chemicals within fruits and vegetables that can significantly, look, we're not talking about killing viruses. Viruses generally, well, they're not really, are they living or are they not living? Because there's so little genetic material, and basically just proteins attached to it, and there's not an awful lot of metabolic activity going on. So are they living or they're not, or do they only come alive when they manage to bind onto host cells? That's another weird question. But where these botanicals, the chemicals within these fruits and vegetables is really important, is that they can inhibit either the virus's ability to bind onto the host cell to transfer its genetic material, which is either DNA or RNA, into the cell for the virus to replicate, or whenever the genetic material does penetrate the cell, whether it's able to then replicate itself. So viruses don't handle nature's own immune antiviral chemicals terribly well. And that's why, I've just compiled 15 of what I find, and this is through my experience and also with research, but there are a whole host of different spices and things you can look at. So there's 15 that I've compiled in that particular report. We'll talk about a few of those in a few minutes. But nature always has the answer. Nature always has the answer until man comes along and significantly disrupts what is natural. So the biggest problems we have and things that are going to significantly weaken our immune system anyway, because there's being spread on the crops and spread in the land, Roundup, which is glyphosate, which is one of the most toxic chemicals known to man. They used it in Agent Orange during the Vietnam War to eradicate all the herbage, the trees and stuff. And the number of Vietnamese end up with really terrible cancers and stuff as a result of this. This glyphosate, which was, I can't remember which of the drug companies do manufacture, but anyway, it's been shown to be exceptionally dangerous and poisonous and cancerous, and there's massive case actions. But it's the likes of those things that are put on our food that start off weakening our immune systems, and those are things we need to be wary of. And the other thing as well, when you start genetically modifying crops, that has a very dramatic effect, because the genetic material on the food that we eat then becomes part of the genetic makeup of who we are, and the animals who eat it as well. So, and then we throw into the mix, you're going to have the effects of radio waves and 5G and stuff like that. And as much as we have all these wonderful things out here that can help support our immune system against and support our immune system to stay strong and to fight viruses, we may not kill viruses, but what we do is we put them in a position where they are not able to replicate. Lots of us may carry, for example, the herpes simplex virus, which is the one that causes the kissing disease, cold sores. So the cold sore virus resides up here in the nerve root ganglion, but it only comes down and starts to replicate when your immune system is weak, which is where, when I was talking earlier about the adrenal glands and the effect that too much stress has, and cortisol depresses your immune system, it's generally when you're really stressed and just too much is going on in your life and you haven't been eating well and you're not sleeping well and your cortisol levels either are too high or too low, the little virus pops his head up and says, "Oh, party time." So we really, and that's why it's a really good idea, especially now, to focus on optimizing your health, supporting those parts that you can, like supporting your adrenals, supporting the gut health and the 70% of your immune system that resides there, and using those nutrients and supplements that you can take that are actually going to impact upon the virus's ability to replicate. We're not going to kill it, so don't be under any illusion, but it's really about our body dealing with it. So you minimize the symptoms. The virus will probably reside in there for a long time, but if you keep your health optimized, it's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's and that's what it is. What we live in a world where there's bacteria, viruses, but we can coexist completely, and it's all part of the makeup. It's just if we have a strong immune system and look after ourselves, our mind, as I obviously talk about all the time, and the body, nutrition, etc. If you look after that, you're going to be able to live in harmony. And like you're saying, David, the viruses can't replicate when they don't have a weakened immune system to work with. They can only, when our immune systems are strong, it can fight off a virus quite easily. And that's why, you know, at the minute, it's kind of been said, if you have a low, weak immune system, you're susceptible to the virus. That's basically why. So we're here to, you know, obviously, you kind of said it there in your chat there, just briefly, you were talking about people who've been stressed, which is obviously mindset. You know, again, you were just touching on it, but obviously your supplements, your nutrition, and looking after that on a daily basis. And, you know, as we're talking about here, looking at prevention by doing all those things rather than having to get intervention by a doctor or having to go into hospital. So yeah, that's where
can I just interject 1 second, Mark? So we know that stress is a major factor in the health of your immune system, notwithstanding the fact that we need to be eating nurturing and nourishing foods.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of fear that has been created by our so-called Department of Health, who, you know, their only advice is, you know, wash your hands, wear a mask, keep away. And if you don't, you're going to die. Instead of turning around and saying, hold on here, you can do all of these things. You know, and they've created so much fear. Like, so many of the older people who already have weak immune systems, they're sitting living in fear that they're going to get this, which weakens their immune system even further. Notwithstanding the fact that they might eat as well or as healthily. My parents eat really, really healthily. Like my dad's coming 82, my mum's 79, but my mum's a really good cook, but they eat so much unprocessed food. You know, they eat at least 5 portions a day of fruit and veg. And they are generally, you know, my dad's had a few issues over the years just from things that happened, but he's coming 82, but they're worried. And I have to keep going around and, you know, and saying to them, like, don't be too worried. And I have them on certain nutrients and supplements, and I always have had for the last number of years to keep their immune system strong. But the fear creates stress. The stress weakens the immune system. And then and on top of that, if you're eating a diet that's poor and low in nutrients and vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, and these things that support the immune system, it becomes an entropic cycle, and your body just gets weaker and weaker.
Yeah. So just to touch on some of the supplements, because some of the questions from the guys here are on that now. Obviously, the report has an extensive list, and it goes into them in detail, which will be sent out to everyone that's you know, sharing this for us to get it out to more and more people. But so that goes into that. We don't need to go into all of them, but I would say like the most important ones, I feel like, you know, if you were to look at, right, okay, there's a lot here, but what is the most important, and in a order, I feel like, you know, so I would, you know.
Where I'd probably start with is, first of all, people are worried about money at the moment. You know, it's all right recommending different dietary supplements to take, but I haven't got much money. So what offers me the best bang for my buck in terms of supporting my immune system? So where I would start first of all there's two I would definitely start first of all with, which would be vitamin C and vitamin D. Now, currently in China, they have been doing a lot of research using intravenous vitamin C on the coronavirus. Now, they're putting an IV line in, they're putting in 24 grams a day, and they're showing that it's very effective at preventing replication of the virus, and it's really boosting their immune systems. Now, we're not going to have access to, obviously, IV lines of vitamin C, but you can start taking more vitamin C. The challenge that we have is that if we follow government guidelines again on how much vitamin C to take, we will never end up taking anything that's ever going to have a beneficial effect in fighting off the virus. The recommended daily allowance for vitamin C is 90 milligrams. Now, that's the amount of vitamin C you'd probably find in a lemon, lime, or an orange. A 2-pound monkey in the jungle every day will consume 600 milligrams. A 60-kilo sheep will synthesize 12,000 milligrams. Now, that's like you eating 200 oranges. Well, 150 oranges every day on a 60-kilo sheep. And when sheep or other animals that can synthesize vitamin C, when they get ill, they make even more vitamin C. They just ramp up their vitamin C production. So 90 milligrams, 1 orange a day, 1 lemon, 1 lime a day is not going to hack it. So I normally try and get my patients, friends, whatever, to take at least 3,000 to 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day in divided doses, because your body can only hold 250 milligrams of vitamin C at any one time. It's water soluble. Every time you pee it out. The cheapest way to buy vitamin C is to buy vitamin C powder. Now, it's got quite a sharp taste, which you just add it to your water. It's got a sharp taste, which is why whenever you take lemons and limes, you get that sharpness. That's the ascorbic acid. So you can put in, I use, it's a lime and mint cordial with my vitamin C. It's made by, I think it's Robinson's. It's very low in sugar, sweetened with stevia. So I put in my half teaspoon of vitamin C in a pint of water, which is about 2,000 milligrams. Then I just put in some cordial and drink that. Now, you can buy vitamin C, you can buy little fizzy vitamin C tablets. The only problem with effervescent vitamin C's is they're high in sodium, salt, which makes them fizz. The other problem is they tend to be sweetened with a sweetener called aspartame, which is not a particularly good sweetener to use. So best way is just buy powdered vitamin C. You can buy a kilo of vitamin C on the internet for 20 quid. That is equivalent to 1,000 vitamin C tablets. And if you were to take four, and I take somewhere between 6,000 to 8,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, but if you were to take 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C, that kilo is going to last you 250 days for 20 quid. That's the cheap way. Now, you do want to divide your doses out. If you take too much vitamin C in one go, you'll get the shits. And I know, because last week I forgot. I took 2 pints of water with probably about 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C in the two, and I drank them and I thought, grand, next time. So, yes, you have to be careful. No.
Yeah, so how would you recommend dividing that? So, like, you would say take if you were taking 4,000, would you take 1,000 at different intervals in the day? So morning, afternoon.
The best way is just to put it into your water and drink it, so you're drip feeding it in. So as you pee out, you're topping it up.
But what I mean is, like, would you take, if you were taking 4,000 in the day, you would take 1,000 in the morning, 1,000 at lunchtime, 1,000 in the evening, and 1,000 at bedtime?
Well, so what I would say, the little 500 ml bottles of water. So I normally recommend you want to drink at least 2 to 3 liters of water. So 2 liters is 4 500 ml bottles. If you put 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C in 4 of those wee bottles and just drink it over the day, just keep sipping at it. So you're constantly got vitamin C going into your body. Now, vitamin C doesn't just boost your immune system, it's anti-cancerous, but it actually helps your body make a protein called collagen. So women who want to stay young, they know all about collagen, because that's what keeps you looking young. So you need vitamin C to make collagen, but vitamin C also is necessary to protect the arteries from clogging up. So it actually is it's a cardiovascular nutrient as well, because it keeps your arteries healthy. So about 4,000, and what I would say, if you do find you're coming down with flu-like symptoms, whether it's a cold, whether it's the coronavirus, whether it's any sort of viral symptoms, take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every hour. Now, you can probably take up to about 16 to 18,000 milligrams over the course of a day. You will reach a stage called bowel tolerance, where your body cannot absorb any more vitamin C. Your bowels will go loose, and to back off. But by significantly elevating your vitamin C levels, you can certainly curtail the duration of the active virus by maybe 50%. Now, I don't know particularly with coronavirus, but certainly from my experience with colds and flus, that's a way to go. Now, other ways you can buy vitamin C, so you can buy it effervescent, you can buy powder, which is the cheaper ones, you can buy chewables, you can buy tablets, you can actually buy liposomal vitamin C. So that's vitamin C and a sort of fatty base that's absorbed through the mouth. Excellent. Absorption with liposomal vitamin C is so much higher than any other form of vitamin C, but also is its price. So you may pay, whereas you can buy a kilo of vitamin C for 20 quid, for 90 liposomal vitamin C, you may pay around 40 quid. So look, if you're on a budget, buy powdered vitamin C. Second thing.
Just a quick thing on that, David, is there is a time release version, because I actually got them. You can get a time release. Obviously, the powdered version is the cheapest version to buy off Amazon that you get there, because you get it in the kilo and the powdered version. But you can get time released. as well. Just wanted to throw it out there. And you can't overdose. From what I've done research, and also this is your expertise anyway, David, isn't it correct? You can't overdose on vitamin C or vitamin D, which we're going to talk about now, which is the two number one things here. Really, if people are looking at what they need to get, if I only have so much money, it's vitamin C, vitamin D, and you can't overdose on them. It's actually something that, is that correct? Or
well, first of all, water soluble vitamins you pee out. So if you take vitamin B, for example, say you took Baraka, which is vitamin C and vitamin B in effervescent form, 4 or 5 hours later when you go to the toilet, you might have fluorescent green or fluorescent orange urine. And that's because of the B vitamins, particularly B3. So every time you take B vitamins, your body will pee out the excess. Now, fat-soluble vitamins are stored in the body, so they will build up over time. So that's things like A, D, E, and K. There are different types of vitamin A. Vitamin A, you can get the precursor, which is beta-carotene. The beta-carotene is the vitamin A precursor you find in carrots. So when you take beta-carotene, your body will convert it to vitamin A and then store it. You can't get toxic levels of that. There's another form of vitamin A, it's called retinol, which is the true form of vitamin A. Now, you can get toxic levels of vitamin A, particularly in the liver, but you need to be consuming a vitamin A supplement of extraordinarily high dosages to have that problem. So with vitamin E and vitamin D, levels, chances of getting toxicity are minimal.
But so the vitamin D and the vitamin C is the two. I know vitamin A is an extra thing that can benefit you to boost your immune system, but would you, like, so vitamin C and vitamin D, high doses is recommended, and you can't so much overdose on those.
Let me just touch on vitamin D a wee bit. So vitamin D3 is the sunshine vitamin.
Yeah.
So when sunlight, UVA rays focus on your skin, it triggers the body to synthesize vitamin D3. Now, if you went out naked in the summer for half an hour between the hours of 11 and 3, you would make about 20,000 units of vitamin D on your skin. And the government RDA is 600.
Crazy.
But here is the rub. It takes between 36 and 48 hours for the vitamin D that's formed on your skin to absorb. So unless you're particularly unhygienic and you don't wash or shower, you probably won't absorb much vitamin D. The other thing as well, if you see cats and birds, cats licking their fur and birds preening their feathers, they're not just cleaning, they're actually getting their vitamin D. So if you see some weirdo walking down the street naked, licking his skin, he's after his vitamin D.
He's heard you talk, and then he's putting it into action.
Anyway, so vitamin D, let me just talk a little bit more about it. So vitamin D is the sunshine vitamin. If you live in the northern hemisphere, you don't get enough sunlight. And certainly you're not running around naked. So even if you did get enough sunlight, you're not getting enough skin exposure to make enough vitamin D. They have shown now, they used to just think that vitamin D was important for bone health, because in the 40s and 50s, a lot of children, and prior to that, a lot of children developed this condition called rickets, where they have bowed legs. So vitamin D deficiency in children causes malabsorption of calcium, causes their bones to malform, and they get bowed legs called rickets. So they used to only think vitamin D was important for preventing rickets, and also in postmenopausal women who go on to develop osteoporosis, which it is really important as well. But the research that's come out latterly has shown if you're low in vitamin D, you're more likely to get cancer, heart disease, multiple sclerosis, diabetes, and dementia, which is all the main lifestyle type diseases that afflict us today. And they also showed that if you take vitamin D supplementation, it's more effective at preventing upper respiratory tract infections, including flu, than any flu vaccine. So taking vitamin D supplements and taking enough, and I normally recommend, I personally take 8,000 units a day of vitamin D, and the RDA is 600. My parents are on 4,000. What you can actually do is you can take, and you can adjust the dose downwards according to, for children. You can buy it in little sprays, which is really convenient with kids. Because it's fat soluble, you don't have to give it to the kids every day. 1,000 IU vitamin D supplement, just squirt in their mouth and then 2 days later give them another squirt. And that means that on average they'll be getting 500 a day over that time, because it's going to build up in their body. So, and again, the dosage of vitamin C, you obviously want to reduce that according to body weight with children. So where I'm saying about 4,000 a day for adults, you might want to take that dosage down to 500 to 1,000 milligrams for kids. And again, try and divide it out, put it in their drinks so that they drink it and they don't even know that they're getting it.
Yeah. Those
are the two cheapest. You can buy like a year's supply of vitamin D, and you want, because it's a fat soluble vitamin, you want to buy it in an oil capsule or a spray. Otherwise, it won't absorb very well. But you can buy a year's supply of little capsules for about 13 quid. So, people think vitamins are expensive. They're expensive if you buy the wrong ones. And don't necessarily go to Holland and Barrett. I'm a great believer in support. Either for convenience for me, sometimes I'll order from Amazon just because of price point. Locally here, where I live in Mid-Ulster, I would go to Allen's Chemists. Darren Allen in Cookstown keeps an amazing array of vitamins, minerals, and herbal supplements. He knows so much about vitamins and minerals. He and I are constantly exchanging ideas, which is brilliant. But anyone who's local and wants to get things in fairly quickly, go and see Darren. He has all of these things anyway. And he usually stocks the best supplements, and he also discounts the price before you can buy them. So everything that has a retail price, Darren already has them slightly discounted, which is great.
Yeah, that's obviously we're in the Mid-Ulster, Northern Ireland here. But if people are tuning in from wherever in the world, obviously there's Amazon worldwide. But like I know Darren myself, obviously myself and David, we're from not too far away from each other here. But Darren is actually where I got mine. I've got vitamin D3, fat soluble, 5,000 IU I'm taking, and also the time released vitamin C, and I have a few other things that I'm adding into that. But just to make it simple for these guys. So I would, like, from what you've been saying and what I've heard myself, but obviously David is from your expertise. So vitamin D, vitamin C, it's sort of the two priority, and then after that, vitamin zinc.
Well, then after that, you're probably, it's sometimes a good idea to buy a multivitamin, because vitamins and minerals act like spark plugs in the body. They all work in a synergistic way. So, for example, if you go to buy B vitamins, you may be buying B12 because you want to get your improved nerve function or make red blood cells, but you really should be buying the whole family of B vitamins, because they all have a synergistic effect. They all work together. So certain vitamins you can take higher dosages of some, but then in the background you want the other B ones there as well, so that all the biochemical processes work properly. Look, in terms of specifics for a multivitamin, to get a decent dosage, if you were to put it in tablet form, the tablet really has to be extremely big. It's like taking horse tablets. One of the nutrients, or one of the supplements that I use, which is it's a cardiovascular supplement, but actually has 26 different ingredients, and it's like one of the best sort of multivitamins you can take. It's called Revive Active. It's made by a company called Galway Natural Health, and and when you look at the ingredients, the RDA levels are much, much higher than what the government recommend, and it's a brilliant tonic. So that's the one I would take every day as well. It makes a mango orange drink. It's really convenient to take. So that would be, you would take that, you take your vitamin D, you take your vitamin C.
What about vitamin A? You mentioned vitamin A. I know that's an extra thing you could take if you really wanted to add other things.
As I say, it's a good idea probably to be running a generalized multivitamin in the background, but do not buy typical commercial multivitamins. So if you go in and buy Centrum, which you'll probably pay £5 for maybe 30 tablets, there's so little in them, and they're in a form that's so hard to digest and assimilate.
Yeah,
there's a standing joke about this guy who rented toilets out at music gigs, and someone could come along and was interviewing him and says, "Do you ever find anything unusual in the toilets?" He says, "I do." He says, "What do you find?" He says, "Oh, I found vitamin tablets." He says, "Well, how do you know they're vitamin tablets?" He says, "Because it says Centrum on them." So basically, people were taking the tablet that was going through the whole digestive tract and coming out the same way as it went in. So
yeah. So
what I was saying is, if you're going to buy vitamins and minerals, or you're going to buy herbal supplements, try and support the wee guy. Try and support the pharmacist who keeps a range of vitamin, minerals, and herbal supplements. Try and support the health shop. Try not to be supporting the big boys, because they always, and they may not have the same level of expertise or passion. Anybody who generally owns a health food shop, they didn't get in just because they're making a bit of money. They get into it because they're passionate about health. And that's what you want. They will generally, anybody who owns, that I've worked with, who owns natural health shops, they generally want to sell you what they think is best, not what they think they can make the most money. The majority of people that I have found, and that who've got into that business, that's the reason they do.
Well, Darn, I would definitely say that's what he, I've known Darn really well. He's totally what you just said. Another thing that Darn does, even though we're talking about Amazon worldwide, Darn will post out to you, and he's a guy you can lift the phone and ask a question to. Amazon obviously is not that way. You've got us guys, here doing a podcast explaining and telling you vitamins, but Darn is someone that you can talk to, and he'll post it to you. So here, there's another two things, but to put it in order is basically vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin D,
vitamin D, and then you probably want to look at zinc. So again, there are different types of zinc. I take zinc in some of my other supplements. I don't specifically take a zinc supplement, but because I'm probably getting enough from all the other supplements that I'm taking. But there are different forms of zinc. So you have zinc oxide, which would be what's used in some of the medical tapes. So they'll have zinc oxide tapes, that they would use for injuries and stuff. You don't want to be taking zinc oxide because it wouldn't be well absorbed. So you're looking at things like zinc citrate, zinc orotate, zinc picolinate, zinc. There are different types of zinc which have better absorption, and you can take probably 30 to 60 milligrams of zinc a day, which is going to, again, it's been shown to have benefits in terms of boosting your immune system. And in men, it's important to take zinc because it helps keep your male hormone levels optimized as well.
Yeah.
When we get into talking about some of the herbal supplements that I recommend, so my number one go-to has been for the last number of years is olive leaf extract. I have used it effectively myself. Touch wood. I'm not going to say tempt fate, but I don't think I've ever had a flu, and I hope I never do have one. But I take a lot of olive leaf. I've had my parents on for the last few years as well, and it really has helped them. And so that's the one I recommend usually first off. Zambuco, which is black elderberry extract, has been shown to be very effective at dealing with viral infections as well, either preventing or treating viral infections. You can buy it in different forms. Zambuco would be a brand name. So they do it in a liquid, they do it in little gels and little pastils, which are really good for kids, because sometimes it's hard to get kids to take vitamins and minerals. But if you give them a little elderberry extract capsules or pastils, they love them. It's just eat like a sweetie. The other one that's really good would be Echinacea purpurea, or purple coldflower. Now, with Echinacea probably be one of the best known sort of herbal antimicrobials or immune supporting supplements. But on the report that I did, I actually came across a piece of research where they had actually used the botanical extracts of Echinacea, and it was very effective against nearly every viruses, including coronaviruses. Now, obviously, this piece of research was done before COVID-19 or before most of us even heard of coronaviruses. So Echinacea certainly, and you want to make sure it's quite a strong form. Some of the ones like Echinoforce, which is made by Vogel, may be a little bit weak. So generally herbs are very good if they come in tincture. Most of the time I buy my olive leaf, it'll be in capsule form. I've used different ones, Solaray and other ones over, I can't even remember the name of the one I'm using now, but the one I'm using at the moment, the olive leaf I'm using at the moment, is 20% Oleuropein, which is probably the highest dosage ever. So I only take a couple of capsules a day. But as I say, the elderberry extract's great for the kids. But adults can take it as well, but it's just quite expensive if you buy it as Zambuco. You can buy other elderberry extracts, which would be good and probably a bit cheaper. The olive leaf is my go-to. and echinacea is also very good. And again, you can buy it in capsule or you can buy it in capsule form. Now, the other thing you might want to consider is maybe just taking something to make sure your gut associated lymphoid tissue is healthy. So if you have been on antibiotics or something, you do want to replenish the organisms in your gut. There are different probiotics on the market. There are basically three types of probiotic you can buy. There are probiotics that contain lactobacilli and bifidobacteria, which would be the most common over-the-counter probiotic supplements. If you are going to buy those, now you'll get those same probiotics in the likes of kefir, which is a fermented drink. You'll also get it in good natural yogurt. But if you want to buy a probiotic supplement containing lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, you want to make sure that it will be enteric coated, that it will be able to carry the good guys into the part of the gut that you want them to go to. Again, Darren would keep a range, Renew Life, and some other ones with 50 billion or 100 billion. You want to make sure there's enough bacteria in it as well. Some of the better ones have to be kept refrigerated. Second type of probiotic you can get are sort of beneficial yeasts. So things like Saccharomyces boulardii, which is very, very good for people who suffer from things like diarrhea. It's a really good probiotic supplement as well for keeping your gut healthy. The third form are called spore-forming probiotics. And these would be things like Bacillus coagulans, Subtilis, licheniformis. That'd be three of the more active ones. Spore-form bacteria are basically the type of bacteria you find in the soil. So I'm sure when you were growing up, Mark, you probably were out as a kid out messing around the soil, washing your hands. You'd been in there and you'd been eating your dinner and your fingers covered in clobber. Soil-based organisms are basically the bacteria that live in the ground. You quite often find in nature you'll have a certain bacteria that are associated with the roots of plants because they actually help the body fix nitrogen, or help the plants fix nitrogen so they can absorb the nitrogen and use it for building protein. So nature has always had all the answers and will always have all the answers as long as we don't try to act God and destroy things using genetically modified plants, using toxic chemicals, glyphosate, because when they get into the food chain, those are the things that are disrupting our immune system big time.
I'm just going to answer June's question here because I know the answer to that, but then I'll ask you a question, David, that Caroline has asked. So June was saying, because the answer is definitely no. She said, is everything that you talked about there in terms of like the amounts of vitamin D, vitamin C, and a multivitamin, and that's definitely no. You need to take them in a you know, on their own higher.
It will be about that size there, Mark.
Huh?
With the dosages we're talking about, the vitamin be about that size.
Exactly. So you need to take them individually, basically. And the ones we're talking about, vitamin D, vitamin C especially, are antiviral and immune boosting. That's why they're like number one. And then you have things like zinc that David mentioned, and selenium is another one. But then when you go into the echinacea and the other thing you mentioned there is more the natural ones. So that's just a wee quick summary. Now, Caroline asked, I just want to make sure we get her question because she's a vegetarian. Caroline asked, what vitamins are best to build immune system? David, I'm a vegetarian. A lifetime she's a lifetime vegetarian.
Well, there's none of those things that you can buy. Like you can buy vitamin D, vitamin C that'll still be vegetarian stroke vegan. You know, they're not going to be necessarily associated with animals, so there's no problem taking those. And certainly any of the botanicals that we've mentioned, like olive leaf and echinacea, etc., there's no problem taking those. So there's very few things. As part of a supplement program, one of the things that I do take would be omega-3s. Now, the omega-3s that I take are derived from krill, which are a type of shrimp-like creatures. But there are now there are now omega-3 supplements that are derived from algae, which are as good as the best fish oil type supplements in terms of their levels of DHA and EPA. Because quite often when vegans and vegetarians go looking for these omega-3 dietary supplements, if they get them from the likes of flaxseed or hemp seed or these plant-based forms, they then have to be converted within the liver to the active form that we find in fish oils. Algae would be the only sorts of plants that would have the EPA, DHA factors that you would find in the likes of oily fish like salmon, trout, mackerel, herrings, and sardines, and in krill oil. So you can use algae type supplements if you're vegan, vegetarian, if you want to optimize your omega-3 levels. But any of the other vitamins, there shouldn't be a problem. There shouldn't be any worry of ethical worries about taking something that's animal derived. Now, most of your vitamin C supplements that you will buy today are synthetic vitamin C. They're ascorbic acid in nature and ascorbic acid synthetically look identical. The only difference between vitamin C found in natural products with the likes of lemons and oranges, etc., would be the fact that they have cofactors like bioflavonoids, asparagine, rutin. At the center they would maybe have a mineral. I think it's selenium is the mineral at the center of the active vitamin C complex. So it's like looking at a car wheel. Vitamin C would be like the wheel nut, but vitamin C complex would be the wheel and the tire and the wheel nuts and the tube inside, you know. So in nature we have vitamin C as a complex. Synthetically we just buy ascorbic acid. It's just pure vitamin C, but without the cofactors. If you have the cofactors, it works even better. But vitamin C supplements that tend to have all the cofactors attached tend to be so much more expensive to buy. So it depends on your budget. Ideally, you know, and because I take quite a lot of stuff now, some I take really expensive things like vitamin C. I don't think you need to spend an awful lot of money on vitamin C if your bowel can tolerate it. Some people who have sensitive tummies will do better with the liposomal vitamin C, or they'll do better with what's called a time release one, like you mentioned, or with a buffered vitamin C, which would have calcium, potassium, or magnesium attached to it, because they will buffer the acids in the stomach. But some things like vitamin C and vitamin D, I don't spend a massive amount looking for the best vitamin D, because if it's in an oil capsule, it'll be fine. If it's vitamin C and you can tolerate it orally as a powder, it's the cheapest way to get it in, fine. When it comes to botanicals like olive leaf, I tend to buy the more expensive ones. When it comes to fish oils, I buy the more expensive supplements. Some things I'll spend a lot more money on, some I won't spend so much on. When it comes, if you're looking for the active ingredients in botanicals, you want to be buying a really good quality product. And if you're looking to buy a multivitamin, go for one that has above RDA levels. Don't buy the commercial ones. Don't be buying the Centrums. Don't be buying Vitobiotics. Don't be buying I'm trying to remember the names of some of the other common, cheaper multivitamins. Go to a good natural health shop or a good pharmacy where the pharmacist, like Darren, has a huge understanding of health, and he will tell you what's the best. There's other ones you can buy, like Source of Life, which is a liquid multivitamin with botanicals and herbs and fruits and antioxidants, and that's a great way because it's liquid. People find you can get a lot of nutrients in a drink that they wouldn't get in tablet form.
Yeah. And I think what Breach is saying here, vitamins, so it's vitamin C and vitamin D for kids as well as for adults, but just in smaller doses for children. Yeah.
Yeah. For vitamin D, I would suggest you would buy a vitamin D spray, maybe 1,000 IU spray. Do a spray every other day with the kids. Buy the vitamin C in powder, but just use a low dosage, say 500 milligrams maybe, but put that in their juice, which will disguise the taste of it. Or get some of these other forms like liposomal vitamin C. You know, halib orange, which is the type of vitamin C a lot of kids would have been given growing up, it's only 60 milligrams. It's just too low a dosage. You know, you need to be eating 6 or 7 a day of them to get enough bang for the buck. Even for kids, you want to be taking more than the RDA levels. I say if a 2-pound monkey gets 600 milligrams of vitamin C, you know, a 5-year-old toddler is going to need at least that.
So great stuff. The artery dent is, have you heard of that? What is that?
How do you spell it?
Breach put it in here, just wondering, is artery dent? I haven't heard of it. Have you?
How do you spell it?
I need to find it again here. Let me see. Where was it? Oh, it's in the comments somewhere. I'm not to worry. It's probably the name of a multivitamin or something. But we've mentioned, we've covered everything pretty much. Yeah. So look,
The bottom line, sorry, but Mark, the bottom line is, pardon?
I'll spell out this to you: ALTRIDENT. ALTRIDENT. Does that make?
Never heard of it.
Right. So to finish off, what were you going to say?
No, the bottom line is, at the beginning of this outbreak, you went into the supermarkets and the shelves are empty of tinned foods, and you walk to the fresh fruit and vegetable area, and I was in today again, and there's any amount of fresh vegetables and fruit with all this immune boosting nutrients in it, and people are still buying crappy processed food, and they're wondering why they don't feel well. The energy and life that living food has, and that it can deliver to our cells and our body, notwithstanding the fact it's going to boost the immune system, is that when you're eating these foods, these living foods become part of you. That's it. It's not just multivitamins. We've got to get away from this idea that we're machines and that we come off the conveyor belt and that there's this genetic material and we make everything. There's actually a transfer of information between the organisms in our gut, the food that we eat, and it goes both ways. So when we're actually eating, that food is literally becoming part of you. The healthier and more life-forming that food is, or alive that food is, the more alive you're going to be.
Yeah.
We need to get back to really understanding what it is to eat healthy. Now, all these other supplements are supplements. They're the icing on the cake, but you've got to make the cake first.
Mm-hmm.
If you're growing flowers in the garden, you can't grow flowers if the soil's unhealthy. You'll only grow weeds. And the idea of taking probiotics, people have got onto this idea of taking probiotics because they've heard that the gut's important for health. If the soil of the garden, which is the internal terrain in the gut, isn't healthy, you can throw all the seed of the soil you want to, but if the soil's not healthy, the seed won't grow into grass.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the gut. If the gut wall and the gut interior environment isn't healthy because you haven't been nurturing it properly, you can throw all the probiotics in the world at it, but they won't become part of the microbiome. You'll just pass through.
David, I just remembered about one thing there, just to last thing for finish, because I don't think we touched on it massively. As you know, that you did mention processed foods, obviously, and sugar is a massive thing used in processed foods, and the emphasis on lowering sugar, processed sugar for sure, because of, you can explain that how it affects the immune system, and then we'll finish off.
There's a couple of things about sugar. If you talk to most doctors on the wards, they will say some of the most at risk people of getting the virus and of dying from the virus are diabetics. Every time if your sugar levels in the bloodstream go out of control, it negatively impacts on the ability of your white blood cells to move and to attack and phagocytose or gobble up foreign bacteria and foreign organisms. Some really cool videos you'll find on the internet showing the effects of intravenous infusion of glucose and how that impacts upon the ability of your white blood cells to move and to work. So that's one aspect of a high sugar diet, which is damaging, notwithstanding the fact that we know that sugar is probably the cause of heart disease. We know it's the cause of diabetes, obesity. Cancer cells consume 19 times more sugar than healthy cells. Even in America, they're now using the term type 3 diabetes for dementia because of the effects of sugar on the brain. The other effect is that in the gut we talked about, you have these 100 trillion bugs. Some are bacteria and some are fungal organisms. Some of these organisms, one in particular group of individual organisms would be the Candida species, and there's about 79 different species of Candida, some of which are very pathogenic. They feed on sugar. Now, a lot of women, some men will get, but a lot of women might often succumb to a condition called thrush. Now, it can be down in the nether regions, it can be in the mouth, it can be anywhere. But this Candida, which causes it, actually resides in the intestine, and it feeds on sugar. And People who have an overgrowth of candida, they'll have symptoms, their immune system will be weaker. They'll have brain fog, they will have fatigue, they will have sugar cravings, they will have bloating, they will have digestive issues, they may have skin problems. So when you're feeding your body high levels of sugar, you know, we are not designed to be having sugar 24/7, 365 days a year. In evolutionary terms, we're only designed to have sugar probably from May till September. And our body used insulin to take that sugar and store it as body fat so that we could get through the leaner months in the winter. But now the average person in Ireland, so Ireland is now the fourth largest consumer of sugar per capita in the world, behind America, Germany, and Holland. The World Health Organization recommends we should have no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day, and the average in Ireland is 24. If you work that out over the week, that's somewhere between £1 to £1.5 of sugar a week that we're consuming. And the effect that that has on our overall health and on our immune system is significant. So we really need to be quite vigilant, because sugar is added to so many things. You buy processed foods today, first thing you should be looking at, and don't be worried about the fats, look at the back. The first thing you should be looking at is how much added sugar there is. It's in everything. If it comes in a tin, it probably will have sugar in it. We need to become much more vigilant, you know, putting a sugar tax on sugary drinks, when yogurts, when fromage frais that the kids are on, like the milky drinks that the kids drink, the flavored milks, have much more sugar probably than Coca-Cola. So we need to be really, as parents, if we really care for our children, it's our responsibility to be doing the reading of the labels and thinking about their health and their immune system. It's too easy just to be, oh, have children and just neglect them, and buying, you know, the mega bags of crisps and, you know, the big bottles of Coca-Cola. And, you know, these things are treats. They shouldn't be a part of anybody's diet on a daily basis, because it has a detrimental effect on your health and on your immune system. And long term, 80% of those people who are presenting to your GP, they're there because of their diet, lifestyle, nutrition.
Yeah. So there's a great rule called the 80-20 rule, and obviously we're looking 80% of your diet to be what we're talking about here, because that's when you're on the side of life where you're looking after yourself in the best possible way. And if you know, life's about enjoying too. So if you want to treat sometimes 80-20 or 90-10, if you really want to be as best as possible. So really, just hopefully, guys, David's imparted a lot of amazing information here on his expertise on the Healthy Gut Guru. You know, I read out the start all his credentials. So hopefully you've took lots of amazing tips, and go back over this live stream. There's so much information David was talking about here. First time hearing it, you know, you may have to go over this a few times. Take notes.
Can I just mention, sorry, Mark, to interject again. Can I just say, look, I am available for online consultations. By all means, please get the reports. If you want a more focused approach to your nutrition, I can help you with that. If you have gut related issues and immune system problems, I can help you with that. I'm here to help. You know, I have accumulated 31 years plus of knowledge, in the same way that Mark here has accumulated amazing amounts of knowledge through, like Mark. I have traveled Canada, America. I've traveled the world doing courses on my areas of expertise, and I'm constantly learning. And that's just why there's this sort of synergy between the two of us, because we want to bring the connection between the body and the mind so together, because the one doesn't work without the other.
Yeah, totally.
Right here, because I don't want the light shining in, so I'm going into vampire mode.
Well, we can still hear you, and we can still see you at the minute, don't we, David? But like the mind and body is completely connected. You know, the mind, you know, and like there's always mind first, because you have to think before you do anything. But the body and the mind are completely connected. So this information that myself and David, you know, and both their expertise is vitally important to every part of your life, because you know your mind creates literally all your results. If you don't have a healthy body, can you do anything? Can you actually, you know, think of someone that isn't healthy? They don't want to do anything. They don't care about anything. They just want to get better. So health is vitally important, and we really got to And as we were really wanting to get at here, talk about or work on prevention rather than needing intervention. And like, obviously there's all the information here in this broadcast to help you with looking after your immune system as best you possibly can, so that no matter what virus, no matter what thing that's going on, your body is able to fight it, and that's the key. So I still hear a thought that went off there. So basically,
just the other thing, Mark, is maybe in another podcast in the future we can talk about the second brain, and we can talk about the relationship between the gut and the brain in terms of neurotransmitters and how that affects our mindset and our mental health as well. You know, everybody talks about the enteric nervous system as the second brain, when in fact we actually were evolved from food tubes with nerve endings around it. So our gut's actually our first brain, and this is our second brain. So in terms of mindset and the relationship between the gut neurotransmitters, the microbiome, the mindset, it's just everything is connected. Absolutely. And it's a whole new world that we're learning about, and it opens up so many pathways that we've never even explored before. And the thing is, the stuff we're talking about today, our doctors will not be talking about it for another 20 years, or GPs won't be.
Yeah, because they're not taught it, and they're
not taught it. And by the time it gets into their mainstream journals and then translated from the research into usable things, there's none of us ever wakes up in the morning with a headache because it's a paracetamol deficiency.
Yeah, exactly. This is the most important stuff, the mind, and just on that, as I teach, the mind is in every cell of the body. The conscious mind, yes, people think you're brain, but the unconscious, which is the other part of the mind, it's all the mind, is actually what I call, in term as the body mind, because that's the emotional part of the mind. So you can see how it's all interrelated. The body, the mind, the whole thing's connected, and what we're doing here is vitally important, especially now because of this situation, more than ever. And you can really start to work on yourself now. David's here for you if you want to reach out to him. As he said, I'll have his details up here.
So is David the healthy gut guru?
Yeah, David the healthy gut guru. I'll post his details anyway. And so what do you want to actually say on here what your website, or what's the best way to people to contact you?
You can find me on Facebook under David McCollum. They can find me under the Healthy Gut Guru. I also have Cardio Health, which is my cardiovascular screening business. Any of those are going. My mobile number is 07942 818 538. So they can get in touch with me through any of those. Or if they're stuck, they can always PM you and you'll drop them my details.
Yeah, exactly. Reach out to me. And by the way, guys, before we go here, if you share this and get this information, this is free what we're doing here, guys. My live streams I've been doing recently to help people with mindset. I've been doing free live streams. We're doing this with David here to get this out, to get, at least waking people up to what to do to help them.
Open this curtain here to give it light.
You can't see him. We really want to get this information out to help people with their immune system, with their mindset, etc. Because it's so key. So please share this, and you'll get a free report from David. Oh, we can see you. We can see you again. Awesome. The light has shone, and David appears again. So yes, there's a 30-page free report, goes into the supplements and more detail that we talked about. So if you share this, you'll get that sent to you, because I'll be asking for your email to send it out to you. Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to David for imparting his amazing knowledge and his expertise in nutrition, gut biome, etc. So all the best, guys. Thank you, David. Thanks for everyone tuning in. And we'll be doing a future podcast, as David was mentioning, on different things related in the mind-body connection and David's expertise. All the best. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. See you later. Bye. See you later. Good luck. Thanks, David.